ministries, namely of agriculture, education, environment, tourism, and also Director of National Parks and Conservation Service, Conservator of Forests, and other members. It is better, I think, Mr. Speaker, so that I table the composition. With regard to the A1 of the question, the Act provides for the holding of meetings on a quarterly basis. For the years 2022, 3 meetings were held in the months of February, June, and November. For this year, 2 meetings were held in the months of February and June. As for the previous years of 2020 and 2021, the meetings were very irregular due to the lockdown period. With regard to part B of the question, as to the recommendations made by the Council, the recommendations, Mr. Speaker, sir, are on a number of subjects. It will be quite tedious to list all of them. However, I would like to highlight a few recommendations, namely those concerning the research centers at Belombe and Pigeonwood. Also, the recommendations for the proclamation of the buffer zones around the Men and Biosphere Reserve in the region of Belombe. Third, the placement of university students at the National Parks and Conservation Service. Fourth, concerning tree planting campaigns. Fifth, sensitization campaigns at visitor centers under the aegis of the National Parks and Conservation Service. And a number of other subjects which, as I said, would be tedious to list at this stage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Si je comprends bien, le ministre n'a mentionné que certaines recommandations. Peut-il nous dire si, parmi les autres recommandations faites par le Council en question, figure celle de mettre en application le Protected Area Network Expansion Strategy 2017-2026 dont j'avais fait mention dans une question précédente et qui voudrait que la zone où le gouvernement veut permettre le développement d'une Smart City à Roche-Noire soit préservée et protégée?
With regard to the Roche-Noire project, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would refer to what has been stated in previous PQs. It is, if my memory serves me right, it concerns a private land, and I had stated in previous replies that I will hold consultations with the director of the National Parks and Conservation Service, who is also a member of this council. So I am assuming that there will be consultations at his level, I mean at the level of the director of the NPCS and the council, and then they will tender some advice to me.
Je parlais de la mise en application de la stratégie, mais je viens à ma deuxième question qui concerne le chairperson. Peut-on savoir quelles sont les qualifications et l'expérience du chairperson actuel en ce qui concerne la conservation de la biodiversité, étant donné que la section 5.1a du Native Terrestrial Biodiversity and National Parks Act veut que le chairman du council ait je cite, wide knowledge and experience in biodiversity conservation. Merci.
I don't have his CV with me right now, but Mr. Nazor Ali, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Mauritius, is quite well known in a number of conservation projects, including our oceans. But unfortunately, I don't have his qualifications with me right now.
Next question. B836.
Monsieur le Président, suite à l'impact de la pandémie de la Covid-19 et de la guerre entre la Russie et l'Ukraine sur le niveau des prix et en particulier sur celui des prix essentiels, la décision a été prise dans le budget 2022-2023 d'introduire une CSG Income Allowance pour soutenir le pouvoir d'achat des ménages vulnérables et de la classe moyenne. À ce titre, la Mauritius Revenue Authority verse une allocation de revenus mensuels de 1 000 roupies par mois aux employés et aux travailleurs indépendants inscrits à la CSG, âgés de moins de 65 ans et gagnant un revenu brut mensuel de 50 000 roupies au maximum. Les employés expatriés qui cotisent à la CSG ont également droit à l'allocation de revenus CSG. Ensuite, dans le discours du budget 2023-2024, nous avons annoncé que l'allocation de revenus CSG sera également versée pour l'année financière 2023-2024, y compris le bonus en décembre 2023. Le montant de l'allocation payable a par ailleurs été porté à 2 000 roupies par mois pour les personnes dont le revenu ne dépasse pas 25 000 roupies. Quelques 200 000 personnes verront ainsi leur allocation de revenus CSG doubler. Le montant de 1 000 roupies est lui maintenu pour les personnes percevant un revenu supérieur à 25 000 roupies, mais ne dépassant pas 50 000 roupies. En ce qui concerne les travailleurs indépendants, ils sont également éligibles à l'allocation de revenus CSG. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne la partie A de la question, j'ai été informé par la MRA qu'au 26 juin 2023, 60 758 travailleurs indépendants sont enregistrés en tant que contribuables pour l'impôt sur le revenu et 43 232 travailleurs indépendants sont enregistrés pour le paiement de la CSG. En ce qui concerne la partie B de la question, la MRA m'a informé qu'au 26 juin 2023, environ 19 000 travailleurs indépendants bénéficient déjà de l'allocation de revenus CSG et la MRA est en train de travailler sur les différents dossiers des autres personnes qui sont concernées pour régulariser cette situation.
Yeah, according to the latest report of the Director of the Audit, 263,000 individuals benefited from the COVID-19 self-employed assistance scheme. And today, the Honourable Minister is telling us that there's only 19,000 self-employed which is getting this 1,000 rupee allowance. Doesn't the Honourable Minister of Finance find that there's a big difference between self-employed and those who are actually getting their benefit?
Monsieur le Président, bien sûr, je reviens sur cette question. À l'époque, quand il y avait eu la Covid, nous étions venus avec une mesure en amont, ne demandant pas d'informations sur les qualités ou de pouvoir vérifier réellement si ces personnes étaient réellement des self-employed. Là, nous étions en train de parler de la situation en 2020-2021. Entre-temps, bien sûr, là, on est sorti du Covid, mais il y en a eu beaucoup qui sont sortis aussi de cette situation de self-employed. Le but pour nous, quand on avait introduit cette mesure, c'était d'avoir ceux qui contribuaient pour la CSG de bénéficier de la CSG. Donc, nous avions demandé qu'ils s'enregistrent auprès de la MRA pour pouvoir bénéficier. Et nous avions donné du temps. Et nous sommes en train de redonner du temps. Là, actuellement, la MRA est en train de regarder pour voir qui sont ceux qui sont enregistrés et qui sont à jour dans leur cotisation pour pouvoir donner cette allocation. Il y a une différence, bien sûr, entre les 200 000 dossiers qu'on avait eus à l'époque, en 2020, d'inscription pour le paiement du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme, et maintenant où on a environ un peu plus de 40 000 qui sont inscrits pour être payés pour avoir cette allocation de CSG. Donc, mais nous, on doit regarder par rapport à ceux qui sont payés. On ne peut pas redonner à tout le monde parce qu'on a fait un appel à tous ceux qui s'étaient inscrits à l'époque pour demander ce Self-Employed Assistance Scheme de venir s'enregistrer sur les listes de la MRA. Jusqu'à présent, on a eu, comme je l'ai dit, 60 000 qui sont venus, qui sont enregistrés pour payer les impôts et 43 000 qui sont inscrits pour recevoir les allocations. J'ai pas fait une demande pour savoir, parce que il y a aussi une différenciation, c'est que le CSG Income Allowance, cela concerne ceux qui touchent 50 000 roupies au plus. Peut-être que dans les 60 000 qui sont venus s'enregistrer, il y en a beaucoup qui touchent plus de 50 000. Peut-être c'est là aussi qu'il y a la différence.
Mr. Speaker, sir, there is definitely more than 19,000 self-employed who earns less than 25,000 rupees and would be eligible to this 2,000 allowance. Is the Honourable Minister aware of the difficulty which self-employed have when they go and register at the MRA, and the MRA insists that they provide proof that they are self-employed. And these people are casual
You put your
laborers.
question.
Yes.
Let them listen.
Bien, je suis tout à fait d'accord, Monsieur le Président, avec cette question de l'honorable membre concernant le fait qu'il y a plus de 19 000. Je l'ai dit, on a eu 43 000 demandes. Et sur ces 43 000, 19 000 reçoivent déjà. Et notre intention, c'est d'aller le plus loin possible, le plus vite possible. Mais c'est sûr, il y a aussi le fait que la MRA est une institution indépendante qui fait respecter les lois. Je vais regarder dedans parce que c'est une des mesures phares du gouvernement, qu'on attache beaucoup d'importance à cette mesure et nous allons vérifier pour voir comment améliorer l'efficacité de la MRA dessus.
Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. B837, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am very pleased to inform the House of the forthcoming inauguration of the National Wholesale Market on the 27th of July, and I seize this opportunity to invite the honourable member at the ceremony.
Next question. You have one?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Minister inform this House whether there has been consultation with the planters to inform them as to how this will operate? Because there was a decision of at the Council of Ministers on the 7th of October, there would be regulations that would be in place. Has same been done and has same been communicated to the planters?
Yes, the answer is yes to all those questions. Several meetings have been held with planters, auctioneers, and all stakeholders. Regulations were in preparation until very recently. I can inform the House that the regulations are ready. There is actually a process of registration by the AMB, who will be the operator of traders and dealers. The notice is on the website of the ministry as well as on the website of the marketing board.
Next question.
B838.
Mr. Speaker, sir, at the very outset, I'd like to inform the House that there are two types of fishing, namely demersal and pelagic fishery. Demersal fishery occurs on the distant banks, such as Nazareth, Albatros, Semrondo, and Sayadumala banks, and the main catch is Damberi. As for deep demersal fishery, the main catchers are Sacré-Chien, Guelpavé, Doré, and Viel-Labou. Pelagic fisheries are migratory in nature and include tunas, mackerel, and billfish. The main gears which are used for fishing the pelagic fish include purseine and long line. The small pelagic are composed mainly of horse mackerels, generally fished by midwater trawlers. It is to be noted that the small pelagic, as mentioned by the honourable member, are for processing and not for local direct consumption. In fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, about 80% of the Sayadumala Bank falls outside the EZ of Mauritius, and only 42,116 square kilometers falls within our EZ. So it should be noted that I say that Sayadumala Bank forms part of the Southern Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement, that is a COFA. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the months of May and June 2018, the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, NORAD, and Food and FAO carried out a research expedition by the Norwegian research vessel, Dr. Fridtjof Nansen, in the EZ of Mauritius, which also included parts of the Sayadumala Bank. The result of the pelagic trawls that were used for the research expedition at selected areas in the Sayadumala Bank showed very low catch rates of small pelagics. Mr. Speaker, sir, a sum of 35 million was allocated for the survey of Sayadumala Bank for a small pelagic in financial year 2022-2023. However, one Omani trawler vessel, namely Al-Nema, was authorized in September 2022 to carry out exploratory fishing in our EZ, that is in the region of Sayadumala, forming part of our EZ, for a small pelagic for a period of 6 months. The vessel carried out one fishing trip, which included several mid-water trawling attempts. However, only 200 kg of horse mackerels were caught during the first 10 days, that is from 19 to 29 of September 2022, with no significant catch of pelagic fish. Following the unproductive fishing experience, the vessel did not pursue any further exploratory fishing campaign and returned to Oman after the first trial. Mr. Speaker, sir, based on the poor catch results obtained from those research expeditions, my ministry obviously decided that it would not be cost-effective to go ahead with the exploratory survey for small pelagics at Saadimala. However, request was made by my ministry to maintain the 35 million in this budget in respect of surveys. My ministry, in fact, intends to carry out exploratory survey for untapped fisheries resources in our EZ for species such as lobster, crab, shrimps, and sea cucumber, with a view to developing new fishing zones for potential commercial exploitation.
Next question.
B839.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your kind permission, I shall be replying to parliamentary questions B339 and B50 together, as they relate to the same subject matter. And as per request made by honourable member, I will provide all additional information if the need be. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, before going into the reply, allow me to give some information to the House on the issue of dengue. Dengue fever is transmitted by a mosquito bite through an infected by the virus dengue. Dengue begins abruptly after a typical incubation period of 5 to 7 days with symptoms of fever, severe headache, muscle, joint, bone, and eye pain, rash, and minor bleeding manifestation. So it is different from COVID-19, where the transmission is through direct contact, mainly through droplets. This one, the transmission is through a mosquito bite, infected mosquito bite. In some patients, for unexplained reason, the clinical presentation of the disease can develop into two serious forms: the hemorrhagic, that is, the bleeding signs of dengue fever, and the dengue shock syndrome, which is fatal. The hemorrhagic form of the disease, which occurs in approximately 1% of the dengue cases in the world, is extremely serious. It results in a persistent high temperature and is often characterized by multiple hemorrhages, in particular in the gastrointestinal tract, skin, and brain. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that since 19th June 2023 to date, the number of reported cases of dengue stands at 33 in Mauritius and 48 in Rodrigues, respectively. I wish to reassure the House that since the first reported case of dengue in Rodrigues and in Mauritius in early June 2023, my ministry has promptly acted thereon through a series of preventive measures in order to prevent the Aedes mosquito infestation all over both islands as follows. In Rodrigues, immediately after the notification of the first case of dengue in Rodrigues, a team comprising of the NCD coordinator, a community physician, the head of vector biology and control division, and deputy director, public health and food safety, proceeded to the island on the 10th June 2023 to ensure that all the measures are put in place and actions taken to contain the spread of the disease. Among others, the following were undertaken: increased surveillance at all healthcare facilities, laboratory test levels, port and airport, detection of dengue by rapid test followed by PCR as if required, fogging and larviciding activities and indoor residual spraying. Survey fevers and contact tracing are being carried out wherever a case is detected and the patient is immediately admitted to La Ferme Hospital. Intensive cleaning campaigns through the island. The Vector Biology and Control Division of my ministry is currently monitoring the mosquito density throughout the island. A circular has been sent to all health facilities requesting for increased vigilance concerning dengue fever and for investigating of suspected cases. Furthermore, the case definition for dengue fever and a table for interpretation of dengue results have been circulated among relevant healthcare workers. Mass communication and sensitization have been carried out through media on a daily basis on precautionary measures to prevent mosquito bite and proliferation, and daily monitoring meeting being carried out by the Rodriguez Health Director with the relevant local authorities on the dengue fever cases and its evolution within the community. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards Mauritius, the following public health measures are being implemented to contain the spread of local cases. Increased surveillance at the level of healthcare facilities, at the virology laboratory, port and airport, fogging and larviciding activities, indoor residual spraying, fever surveys, and contact tracing are being carried out whenever a case is detected and patient is immediately admitted to the hospital or clinic if found positive. Inhabitants of concerned regions have been informed of fogging and larviciding activities being carried out and of precautionary measures against dengue. Mass communication and sensitization through the media to inform the precautionary measures against dengue. The Vector Biology and Control Division is constantly monitoring the mosquito density throughout the island. A circular has been sent to all regional health directors, private medical practitioners association, president of the Association of Private Clinics, requesting for increased surveillance concerning dengue fever and to investigate all suspected cases. Daily monitoring being carried out by Director of Health Services, Director of Public Health and Food Safety, Regional Public Health Superintendents, and Principal Public Health Surveillance Officer, and assistance from various stakeholders, namely the Ministry of Local Government, Disaster and Risk Management, the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, the Ministry of Tourism, municipal and district councils, the National Environment Cleaning Authority, the Tourism the Authority, and the Special Mobile Force for massive cleaning and sensitization campaigns around the island. Mr. Speaker, sir, in reply to part B of the question, B 850, I'm informed that the treatment administered is based upon the symptoms of the patient. Therefore, the patient being provided appropriate care and treatment to relieve his or her symptoms. There is no specific medication for the treatment of dengue fever.
Leopold.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether there is a biocontrol facility in Mauritius for the control of this vector? If yes, why this facility has not been extended to the entire territory of the Republic of Mauritius? And can the Honourable Minister inform the House about the established protocol for screening regarding rapid testing and PCR?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I could not get the first part of the question. Can that be clear?
Yes, can I ask you whether there is a biocontrol facility of vectors, mosquitoes in the Republic of Mauritius? And if yes, why such facilities is not extended to the whole territory of the Republic of Mauritius?
Yes, in fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, the question is, thank you for giving me this question, because it is the vector, that is the mosquito, that will transmit the disease from one person to another person. And it's very important to control, to know what is the density of the mosquitoes. This is done by the Vector Biology Control Unit of my ministry. So they are mandated to to have a good knowledge about how mosquitoes, what is the density of mosquitoes, and the same team that has been provided the services in Mauritius have been to Rodrigues first to study the density of the mosquitoes, and secondly to empower the officers in Rodrigues how to monitor the mosquito density.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether the dengue fever is currently considered as a global threat?
Mr. Speaker, sir, dengue fever. So probably I have this information. In 2019, so in view of the re-emergence and rapid expansion of this virus, the World Health Organization ranked dengue fever among the top 10 global health threats. So they are among the top 10 global health threats. This fever occurs worldwide and is in some countries. If I have that information, Réunion Island, for example, with a population of 860,000, has been experiencing seasonal dengue epidemics since 2018. Nearly 70,970 confirmed cases reported in Réunion Island, 2,672 hospitalizations, and 75 deaths have been reported up to May 2022, which means that we have to be very much aware of the situation in the neighboring island, and we have to monitor. Everybody has to take his or her precautions properly in order to spread dengue fever.
B840. I'm informed that a total sum of 4.1 billion was provided as grant to local authorities for the financial year 2022-2023. I'm tabling the sum allocated for all the 12 local authorities with respect to the welfare, public infrastructure, public health, and finance department for the financial year 2022 and 2023.
Next question.
Me or him?
You.
Me?
Yes, next question. He's tabling. Take cognizance of the table and then. You put your question?
B841. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the National Social Living Development Limited that its personnel, as at date, numbers 51, in addition to staff seconded from the National Housing Development Company Limited. The requested information under A and B is being compiled and will be placed in the Library of the National Assembly.
Can I ask the Honourable Minister, since 6 June 2023, about 3 weeks ago, and during Committee of Supply, questions have been asked about the salaries being drawn by the people at the NSLD, and he has committed to table at the Library of the National Assembly. Up until today, this has not been done. Can I ask the Honourable Minister, is it that he has not been given the information by the NSLD? Is there a problem?
It is just that the Honourable Gentleman will be aware that I have been attending the G20 meetings in India and will make a statement later on concerning my recent mission. But if there is any specific information I can provide, maybe the Honourable Gentleman would wish to ask me now.
Speaker, sir, we are talking about taxpayers' money and public funds. I have all the information dated 2nd of June 2023 in my question. I'm going to table it because it's taxpayers' money and the Minister does not want to do that.
What is your question?
I'm going,
Let me remind you,
yeah.
you put a question already, the main question. Now you want clarification. What clarification you want? Ask the Minister, he will give
No,
you.
why is it?
What about all these papers?
No, I'm going to table it.
This is not an issue.
Yeah.
This is not an issue.
An issue for me to table it.
The issue is ask for clarification. Please.
What I'm asking the Honourable Minister, how is it that I, an opposition MP, has document dated 2nd of June 2023 that the Minister claims he doesn't have, and when we are talking about public funds, and for which I wish to table?
Good. Mr. Speaker,
No, you need to table this.
No, I want to table.
No, we will not take this document. I am giving instruction, no document to be taken.
Why not? Why? No, but the minister doesn't have. I have the right to table document.
Check your right. I am ruling on the official documents, no other documents.
The minister is hiding information to the House.
So you withdraw that? You withdraw? I don't want to listen to anything.
Why should I withdraw when I have the information he doesn't want to give?
Either you withdraw or you withdraw from the House. Either you withdraw the words or you withdraw from the House. You decide.
Okay, I withdraw. But would you accept as I table the document?
No.
It is official document.
Now, you withdraw from the House. Now, you're questioning my authority. Go and read your standing order. Yes, go everywhere. Go everywhere you want. Now you withdraw from the House. I have already ruled. I have already ruled you withdraw from the House. And if you insist, I will name you. So I am naming you now. I suspend the sitting. Please be seated. Honourable members, as you are aware, the purpose of putting questions in Parliament is to seek information and to press for action. It was therefore not in order for the Honourable Osman Mohamed to table a document in relation to an information which he had requested the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister to provide to the House. Honourable members, when put questions, should not give answers, should not give information, should request for information. Thank you for your attention. Next question.
B842.
Mr. Speaker, as from 2014, the approach of our government has been more disability inclusive. The disability community has waited a long time for meaningful change. Since 2014, our government has unveiled a series of innovative measures and schemes to provide support to them. More is being done every year because the determination of the present government in this respect is very clear. Our government has addressed several injustices suffered by persons with disabilities for years. One of our first actions has been to align the basic invalidity pension, which stood only at 3,267 in November 2014, with a basic retirement pension, which was 3,623 at that material time, to reach 11,000 now. We have also addressed a major injustice towards children with disabilities less than 15 years who were not eligible to the invalid basic pension on the basis of an age factor. This issue was left unaddressed, as you all know, for decades. We have removed the age criteria, and now all children, irrespective of age, are deriving their basic invalidity pension if they suffer from an incapacity of 60% or more. As the House is aware, by virtue of Section 8 of the National Pension Act 1976, a person is entitled to the invalid basic pension if he is below the age of 60 and is found by the medical board to be suffering from a disability of at least 60% for a period of at least 12 months. Last year, we introduced the disability allowance of 2,500 for persons under the age of 60 and suffering from a disability between 40 and 59. This measure is a relief to many persons with disabilities who were not getting any financial support. In the present budget speech 2023-2024, it has been announced that the percentage of disability resulting from amputation is being reviewed. I wish to inform the House that amendment will be brought to the 6th schedule of the National Pension Act 1976 for the Finance Miscellaneous Bill, so that persons suffering from the following amputation will now be eligible to the invalid basic pension. Loss of arm between shoulder and elbow, loss of arm at elbow, loss of arm between wrist and elbow, loss of hand at wrist, loss of 4 fingers and thumb of one hand, loss of leg between knee and hip, loss of leg below knee. This measure will take effect from next month. Funds to the tune of 4.6 billion has been earmarked under the item Basic Invalidity Pension for financial year 2023-2024. With regards to part C of the question, I'm informed that close to 500 cases of amputation in persons are expected to benefit from the invalid basic pension for this new measure.
Le ministre peut-elle nous dire si une personne ayant subi une amputation sera dans l'obligation de passer devant le medical board de son ministère, ou est-ce que le certificat médical émis par un médecin sera suffisant avant de bénéficier de cette pension?
Well, I am of the opinion that to be certain that the certificate is a genuine one, so at least once the person will have to be on the medical board, and then if the medical board finds that the person is suffering from an incapacity of 60%, and there is amputation. So I don't think we will call the person again and again to be on the board. So it will be once only. We are working towards this system.
Monsieur le Président, dans sa réponse initiale, l'honorable ministre a fait référence à la CSG Disability Allowance de 2500 roupies qui était dans le budget 2022-23 pour les personnes souffrant d'une invalidité de 40 à 59%. Donc peut-on savoir, par rapport à cette mesure, le nombre de personnes qui, durant l'année écoulée, ont bénéficié justement de cette mesure, de cette pension?
Well, 18 person is benefiting, but we are working on some more cases. I think in all we have received 50 applications right now.
Next question.
B843.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that the main medical specialties concerned are as follows: ophthalmology, mainly for retinoblastoma; neurosurgery, mainly for aneurysm, cerebrovascular accident, disease, pituitary adenoma and tumor; cardiology, mainly for complicated cardiac cases for newborn; orthopedics, mainly for osteosarcoma and complicated cases following accidents; ENT, mainly for cochlear implant; oncology, mainly for cancer issues such as leukemia and bone marrow transplant; and transplant surgery, mainly for renal transplant, lung transplant, and liver transplant. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to Part B of the question, I inform that the number of patients who benefited from treatment under the Overseas Treatment Scheme from December 2019 to May 2023 is as follows: 33 cases in December 2019, 176 cases in 2020, 173 cases in 2021, 277 cases in 2022, and 191 cases in 2023, that is up to 31st May 2023. This total to amount to 850 patients who benefited from treatment under the Overseas Treatment Scheme from December 2019 to May 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to Part B1 of the question, I'm further informed that the number of patients who passed away during overseas treatment from December 2019 to May 2023 is as follows: 8 in December 2019, 1 in 2020, 6 in 2021, 6 in 2022, and 5 patients in 2023, that is as up to 31st May 2023. This totals to 26 patients who passed away during overseas treatment during the period December 2019 to May 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is no data available for those patients who passed away within 6 months of their return to Mauritius.
Thank you. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether there has ever been an audit analysis of the referral centres in terms of mortality, morbidity, and success rate, since you do not have data after 6 months of return to Mauritius?
No, Mr. Speaker, sir. There is no such any study survey being conducted, especially when we are referring to death of patients. Personally, I feel that it would not be appropriate, especially when I listed the cases that those patients have been suffering. And now we have provided the treatment. Government has given free funded treatment to specialty hospital in India, and now to conduct a post-mortem survey on death cases. Personally, I don't feel that this is appropriate, that we should do.
I've got another supplement. It was not about death, it was about morbidity, just to remind the House. It's a big difference. Can I ask of the Honourable Minister whether there is any regulatory framework in regards to private medical agents sending patients abroad in terms of regulation, accountability, and particularly charges that are being collected?
So the first part of the question was again on the morbidity of these patients. Again, it's very difficult to do morbidity assessment on these patients when we know that they are very, very difficult cases. Now, concerning private patients being sent by private practitioners or to foreign centers, there is no regulatory framework for that. And I believe that so far, if we would have been given information that where patients been sent in India for some particular reasons, then we can develop such a framework. But so far, patients and private practitioners do send patients on their own to their own institutions abroad. So in that case, there is no regulatory framework to know what's happening to these patients.
Next question.
B844.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I had informed the House at our sitting of 18th October 2022 in reply to PQB 1010 that the contractor on the Grand Bay Sewerage Project Phase 1B, namely the joint venture Henan Water and Power Engineering Consulting Company Limited and An Shui Shui Han Construction Group Company Limited, had issued to the Wastewater Management Authority 3 notices of termination of contract pursuant to clauses 16.2 and 19.6 of the contract. Mr. Speaker, sir, subsequently and with a view to securing the site of works, the Wastewater Management Authority and the consultant had identified priority works to be completed by the contractor before its demobilization. And the key components are as follows: backfilling of incomplete deep trenches for both street sewers and pumping station sites, fixing of horizontal metal frames and covers at inlet works at 2 pumping station sites, reinstatement of private premises where house connections works were ongoing, and fixing of peripheral fencing and gate at pumping station sites. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have been informed by the Wastewater Management Authority that all the priority works have been completed. Moreover, and with a view to further ensuring safety and security, necessary action has been taken by the Wastewater Management Authority in respect of permanent road restoration works in catchment areas where the previous contractor had already completed excavation and pipe laying work. Thus, following an open bidding exercise, Transinvest Construction Limited was awarded a contract for the reinstatement of some 4.5 kilometers of road. Work began on 28 April 2023 and is expected to take 4 months. As at date, the contractor has finished the permanent reinstatement of Old Mill Road B165 over a length of 1.1 kilometer. Works will pursue on the following roads in the coming weeks: laterals of Raquette Road, Chemin Bazar de Grand Bay, Yaneli Drive, laterals of Bali Road in Pérébert, Chemin du Vieux Moulin, Old Mill Road B165, and Chemin 20 Pieds B45. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to make beneficial use of the works already undertaken under the Grand Bay Sewerage Project to mitigate the environmental issues and connect more households, the Wastewater Management Authority has worked out a detailed action plan to pursue the sewerage works on a priority basis. Works would be carried out on a lot-wise basis as they involve civil works, mechanical works, and electrical works. Funds have been provided in the estimates of 2023-2024 for the sewerage project at Grand Bay. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. May I ask the Honourable Minister to inform the House whether the initial 2.4 billion rupees provided through the Japan International Cooperation Agency for this Gambé sewage project will be enough for the completion of this project, or more money has to be allocated, and if yes, what will be the source of that money?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I do not have this information of how much additional money will be required to complete the project, because I do not have that information with me right now. But whatever money will be required for the implementation of the project will be provided from government funds. And as it is, like I said, in this year's budget, I'll refer the Honourable Member to paragraph 240, where 1.3 billion has already been provided for sewerage projects, including the Gambé sewerage project, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Will the Honourable Minister provide the House a detail, if he does not have it, he may table it later, a detailed breakdown of the fees paid to the different consultants involved in the sewage project, and also the amount paid to the different companies which undertook the sewage infrastructure project in Gambé? Thank you.
No, I don't have the detailed information with me, Mr. Speaker, sir, but I'll be glad to provide the Honourable Member with the details he is requesting with regard to payments made to consultants who have worked on the project, and also the different contractors who have worked on the project, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. B845.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to part A of the question, I am informed by the Computer Emergency Response Team of Mauritius, the department responsible for cybersecurity under my ministry, and the contact point for social media platforms, including TikTok. No cases of illegal gambling on TikTok has so far been reported on the MOCOS platform, that is the Mauritian Cybercrime Online Reporting System. The MOCOS is, as I said, the national online system that allows the public to report cybercrimes occurring on social media securely. However, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that 2 such cases have been reported to the police, and both cases are under investigation. Mr. Speaker, sir, as for part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that on 12 January 2022, I met with the Director General for the Government Relations and Public Policy and the Director General of Legal Affairs of the Dubai Regional Office, and I had the opportunity to take up with the latter issues faced in Mauritius with regards to misuse of social platforms. It is during that meeting that it was agreed that the CERT MU would be the official body which would be responsible to report incidents on TikTok happening in Mauritius. The possibilities of TikTok recruiting Mauritian nationals to moderate content and setting up of a satellite office were also discussed. As a follow-up of that meeting, on the 4th of March 2022, I addressed a letter to the Chief Executive of ByteDance Limited, based in Singapore, conveying invitation to visit Mauritius for further discussions. After several exchanges, I chaired an online meeting on the 30th of May 2023 with a team of TikTok headed by the Director General for Government Relations and Public Policy for Africa to discuss the current status of the incidents reported on the said platform and on the close engagement with Mauritius to further enhance online safety for the Mauritian public. One of the major concerns raised were the use of Creole language on TikTok platform and the use of an excessive amount of profanity in some of the videos towards specific individuals, public figures, government institutions, amongst others. Subsequently, assurance was given by the TikTok team that it would continue to to investigate the local language issue, and based on the evidence submitted in terms of the links, the videos, amongst others, action will be taken to improve its moderation system. Mr. Speaker, sir, further to the meeting of the 30th March 2023, TikTok has resolved to offer the following: an extensive training session targeted at wider forum of government stakeholders focused on online and minor safety, online safety workshops in line with the ongoing regional safety programs targeted at groups of parents, educators, and guardians, as well as incorporating the train the trainers concept, a training session for nominated logistics emergency response team and the computer emergency response team with the law enforcement officers, and creation of a dedicated escalation channel to report any violations. My ministry is coordinating with the TikTok team for the conduct of those training programs as proposed during the course of this year, and discussions will be sustained to ensure the safety of the population when using this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So can the Honourable Minister provide at least an indication when the trainings would start, if ever he has any date or a specific time? You can just share it with the House.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we do not have any specific time frame, but we have been assured that they will be coming to Mauritius, a team from TikTok Africa, because they look after this region, will be coming to Mauritius during the course of this year itself, so that all this training can be done with students, with parents, with our law enforcement agencies, to be able to sensitize at the same time, but also see how we could reduce all these violations of community standards on this platform.
Now remember, the following questions have been withdrawn. B858, B860, 866, B867, B873, B878, B894, B897, and B903. Next question.
B846.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with regards to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Islamic Cultural Center that Mauritius was previously allocated with 1,500 visas for 1,500 pilgrims for Hajj 2023. Following negotiations by the Ambassador Sudan with the Saudi authorities, an additional 150 visas were obtained. Hence, for this year's Hajj, a total of 1,650 visas for 1,650 pilgrims has been allocated to Mauritius. I'm further informed by the ICC that along with the 1,650 pilgrims who have left Mauritius from the 12th to the 18th of June 2023, there were also 13 members constituting the Hajj mission, 12 Hajj group operators, as well as 10 assistants/helpers, and in total, 1,685 persons have left for Hajj 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regards to Part B of the question, I'm informed that the officer in charge of the ICC is currently in Saudi Arabia to oversee the Hajj pilgrimage. Therefore, we will have to wait for his return, and further information will be provided upon his return on the registration numbers allocated to all the selected pilgrims, which will be provided thereupon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'honorable ministre, pouvez-vous informer à la Chambre quelles sont généralement les procédures à suivre depuis l'enregistrement jusqu'à l'octroi du visa, en précisant si le principe de first come, first serve est respecté ou s'il y a des exceptions à cette règle, et s'il y a des exceptions, quelles sont ces exceptions?
Mr. Speaker, sir, generally the selection of prospective pilgrims is based on a registration list existing at the ICC, and the selection is done on a chronological order. Of course, there is the ICC approaches potential and prospective pilgrims, and if they signify their intention to participate for Hajj, therefore we confirm that, as I said, there is a chronological order. But I'm also made to understand, but I don't have the information in front of me, but I'm made to understand that there are exceptions which are made for certain people in terms of hardship, health issues, health complications. So there are certain categories of prospective Hajis which are considered out of rank, out of order, out of that chronological order.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Puisque l'honorable ministre n'a pas déposé la liste demandée pour les personnes ayant obtenu le visa, dans un souci de transparence, est-ce que vous voulez prendre l'engagement à la Chambre de déposer la liste? Mais en même temps, j'ai une liste. Je ne veux pas déposer la liste, Monsieur le Président. Pouvez-vous nous expliquer comment, par exemple, un couple, le nom HEA, Madame et Monsieur, avec un serial number de 29 870 et 29 871 respectivement, il y en a plusieurs comme ça, 32 500, 32 671, n'ayant absolument rien, aucun problème, sont-elles retrouvées sur la liste des Hadis alors que, concrètement, on est arrivé à 14 300 en ce moment, d'après la liste d'enregistrés.
Mr. Speaker, sir, honourable member will appreciate that I will not be able to comment on these. But of course, as I said in my reply, once the officer's charge is back from Saudi Arabia, he will work on the complete list with the registration numbers, of course. And I'm pretty much sure the concerns that honourable member has will be clarified based on explanations, if ever, the figures or the registration number that have been advanced by the honourable member is correct, there will be explanation given by the officer in charge to explain how come these persons have participated in Hajj 2023.
Next question.
B847.
Mr. Speaker, sir, to improve the safety of fishers and surveillance in our EEZ, it was announced in the budget speech 2022-2023 that provision was made to acquire 2,000 handheld, very high-frequency transceivers with the support of the European Union. Accordingly, an amount of 21 million rupees was provided to my ministry for financial year 22-23 for acquisition of this imported communication device, which will enable fishers to communicate with officers of the Fisheries Protection Service and the National Coast Guard in case of distress at sea. There were 1,842 registered artisanal fishers around the island at that time, and there were only 1,103 registered fishers who were boat owners. My ministry made provision for bidding exercise for the safety equipment to cater for 1,500 owners, taking into consideration that there would eventually be an increase in this number. As with budget measures, registration of fishermen is ongoing, and it is expected to issue gradually 1,000 additional cards till March, April 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, so far my ministry has undertaken 2 bid exercises. The first bid exercise for supply of 15 handheld marine VHF transceivers was launched in 2022 through open advertised bidding. 5 bidders had responded. An evaluation of bids was carried out. However, prior to the award of contract, the ministry noted a shortcoming in the bidding document, as a result of which the responsive supplier provided after-sale service in Dubai, as he did not have a local workshop. This was seen as a major shortcoming, as the absence of a local workshop would have been a great inconvenience, be it during the warranty period and even more problematic afterwards, with cost and time implication in case of reparation. The bidding exercise was therefore cancelled. Mr. Speaker, sir, bids were relaunched in early 2023 with amended specification requiring bidders to provide the proof of local workshop for repairs of defective equipment to address the shortcoming noted in the first bidding document. Bids were invited for both the supply and rental of equipment also. At the closing date, in March 2023, 5 bidders responded for supply, testing, and commissioning of handheld marine VHF transceiver, while 3 bidders had responded for renting of handheld marine VHF. A bid evaluation committee was set up to evaluate the bids received. The ministry decided not to go ahead with a contract for rental, as it would have not been cost-effective in view of the high prices quoted by bidders. As regards to the supply of the equipment, the bid evaluation committee recommended that the contract be awarded to the only bidder who had effected the survey and coverage tests in all fisheries posts and whose bid was technically responsive. Prior to award of the contract, the selected bidder was required to confirm that the survey conducted meets the requirement regarding the coverage range, that is up to 12 nautical miles. However, the bidder confirmed that the equipment proposed does not provide radio coverage of 12 nautical miles. The bidder conducted a coverage test up to a distance of 4 nautical miles offshore between the fisheries post and their boat. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to point out that during the year 22-23, the fish aggregating devices which are being put at sea goes up to a distance of 12 nautical miles. So accordingly, taking the deployment of FADs into consideration, the specifications were worked out by my ministry for coverage of the VHF transceivers for up to 12 nautical miles. So as required coverage were again not met, the bids were cancelled in June 2023 as they were not responsive. Mr. Speaker, sir, the supply of this necessary equipment for the safety of fishers is the priority of my ministry, and for the financial year 23-24, an amount of 22 million has been provided under EU funding for this project. My ministry is currently working on the relaunching of bids with revised specification, and I do hope that this imported communication device would be distributed to all our registered artisanal fishing boat owners in order to ensure their safety at sea on a priority basis.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai écouté avec beaucoup d'attention la réponse du ministre. J'ai donc compris que le premier appel d'offres a été annulé pour des raisons de service après-vente et le deuxième appel d'offres pour des raisons de portée des équipements. En faisant une recherche très rapide sur ce type de radio portable tel que demandé par le ministère, j'ai rapidement compris que la portée n'est que de 5 à 6 000 nautiques.
Écoutez, don't go far in your explanation. Put supplementary
Alors
questions
précisément,
for clarification.
puis-je demander au ministre de clarifier
Exactly.
la raison pour laquelle son ministère lance des appels d'offres qui, d'entrée de jeu, sont techniquement impossibles à satisfaire?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, when the procurement launched this bidding exercise, as I rightly said, that because the FADs are being put at 12 nautical miles, so that was the reason why we wanted a very high frequency. But I do understand that, as per information, as pointed out by the honourable member, it is not available in the market right now, but we have content of trying to get, we are going to relaunch the bid because if our fishers are 12 nautical miles, we obviously require such a transceiver. But then there are other equipment which can go above 12 nautical miles, and we are trying to procure that one.
Je demande au ministre la date à laquelle le troisième appel d'offres sera lancé pour la fourniture de ces équipements de sécurité.
Bravo.
Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, when we receive the specification, we do hope to launch the third time in July, means next month.
Next question.
Yes, B848.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in March 2021, following the detection of foot and mouth cases in Rodrigue, government took the decision to impose a total restriction on the movement of cattle, goat, and sheep from Rodrigue to Mauritius. A communique was issued on the 11th of March 2021 to that effect. Subsequently, in May 2021, a vaccination program was implemented to control the spread of the infection. I am informed, Mr. Speaker, sir, by the Commission for Agriculture of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly that in the year 2021, foot and mouth disease vaccine was administered to 33,086 ruminants, including 8,491 cattle. I am further informed that, with a view to reducing the percentage of foot and mouth prevalence in Rodrigues, the Commission for Agriculture is embarking on the third vaccination program for FMD in this month, June 2023. It is expected that 8,600 cattle, 12,500 goats, and 13,500 sheep will be vaccinated. The Livestock and Veterinary Division of my ministry will assist the Commission for Agriculture in Rodrigues in the implementation of the vaccination program. And in this context, the veterinary officers of my ministry are actually in Rodrigues for this purpose. Now, on the basis of sero-surveillance carried out in Rodrigues by the Livestock and Veterinary Division in 2022, and on the results of the sero-surveillance, the prevalence of FMD was estimated to be around 10%. This is much rather on the high side compared to mainland Mauritius. On this basis, the restriction cannot be lifted completely, as it would pose a serious risk of introduction of FMD into mainland Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, in January 2022, however, the restriction on the movement of livestock, that is for cattle, goat, and sheep, was partly lifted. I will explain how. In order to mitigate the risk of introduction of FMD disease through the movement of livestock from Rodrigues to Mauritius, the Mauritius Meat Authority was solely authorized to move cattle, goat, and sheep from Rodrigues to Mauritius under strict animal health conditions and for controlled slaughter only under the supervision of the Livestock and Veterinary Division. This has been in place since January 2022. The Mauritius Meat Authority has to apply for a movement permit from the Livestock and Veterinary Division and obtain same prior to the movement of cattle. The movement permit lays down the animal health conditions which have to be complied with and certified by both the veterinary services of Mauritius and Rodrigues. From the part lifting of the restriction, that is from January 2022 up to date, the Livestock and Veterinary Division has issued 41 movement permits to the Mauritius Meat Authority and 842 cattle, 1,723 sheep, and 1,562 goats have been moved from Rodrigues to Mauritius. I also wish to inform the House, in a bid to relieve the burden on breeders of Rodrigues with excess female cattle, 2 veterinary officers of the Livestock and Veterinary Division are actually in Rodrigues to provide training in pregnancy diagnosis with a view to allowing the movement of female cattle from Rodrigues to Mauritius. Once, Mr. Speaker, sir, once the vaccination program and the subsequent sero-surveillance is completed, the movement of livestock will be restored to normal, depending, I insist, on the result of the sero-surveillance campaign. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Presently, the Meat Authority is importing live cattle for slaughter, as mentioned by the Honourable Minister. Therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister, until the lifting of the ban of an importation of live cattle, can the minister consider, just as in the case of meat authority, if he can authorize local butchers or any individual to import live cattle and direct it and to direct it to the slaughterhouse of the meat authority, just like in the case as it is being done presently?
There are consultations along those lines actually happening, Mr. Speaker, sir, because we are anticipating that once the vaccination program will be completed, we will have recourse to this new process. But it is still premature for me to say when it will happen, but there are ongoing consultations along those lines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the Honourable Minister mentioned vaccination program in May 2021, 33,000, if I'm right. Can I ask the Honourable Minister, since the start of the vaccination program and until now, what is the number of deaths in relation to foot and mouth disease to cattle in Rodrigues? Of course, if he has it, and if he doesn't have it, he can later table it in the library.
I do not have that specific figure for death, no? Même toi, tu n'as pas. No, I don't have it.
Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. B849, please.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, sir. I am tabling the information requested.
Next question. Even if you don't have any, normally, when the minister gives an answer, a reply, then you question, you ask clarification upon the answer, the reply. You've been a minister yourself, Honorable Boda. Don't complicate my life. You are my brother, and you will accept me. So let's move to the next question. Order. No, next question. So,
B851, merci. Mr. Speaker, sir, in accordance with the Quarantine COVID-19 Restrictions Regulation 2022, no employee of a specified institution shall be provided access thereto unless he produces his COVID-19 vaccination card certifying that he has been fully vaccinated. In case he has not been vaccinated with a COVID-19 vaccine, a COVID-19 test certificate from a medical practitioner certifying a negative result dating back not more than 7 days as from the date of the COVID-19 test was undertaken. Mr. Speaker, sir, the fourth schedule provides for the list of specified institutions which comprise inter alia educational institutions, health institutions, residential care, home, airport, and seaports. Mr. Speaker, sir, in February 2023, the quarantine period has further been extended until 31st August 2023. Therefore, all provisions under the Quarantine COVID-19 Restrictions Regulation 2022 will remain in force until such time so as to protect our population from COVID-19 and the emerging variants of SARS-CoV-2. Consequently, all employees of such institutions should therefore adhere to provisions of the regulations in respect of access to their respective workplaces. Mr. Speaker, sir, while COVID-19 is no longer a public health emergency, it is still a disease of concern and requires continuous monitoring. Accordingly, the COVID situation is being closely monitored by the relevant authorities, especially in the context of the onset of the winter season. Should the need arise, consideration will be given to review the regulations in respect of access to workplace.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Depuis juin 2022, comme l'a si bien dit le ministre, les restrictions liées à la COVID-19 ont été assouplies et la plupart des compagnies
You have a
aériennes...
question to clarify? You want to clarify something? If you want to clarify something...
Yes, I want to clarify.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put the question.
Le ministre pourrait-il expliquer à la Chambre les raisons de cette discrimination spécifique envers le personnel navigant commercial à l'aéroport, qui est la seule catégorie d'employés?
Good. Your question is complete now. Let the minister reply.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. If this is a question of discrimination, protecting other passengers as well as other crew members, where there is a provision that in case he or she is not being vaccinated with COVID-19 vaccine, that person has to provide a COVID-19 test certificate from a medical practitioner certifying that he has a negative result, not dating not more than 7 days. So already there is a provision. If you or that person is not willing to be vaccinated, you have to produce your COVID-19 vaccination certificate. If you don't do so, unfortunately, we have to abide because we have to protect passengers as well as other crew members.
But, Manuel, question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dans un esprit de solidarité humanitaire, est-ce que le ministre envisage d'inviter son collègue, l'honorable Sudesh Kalichan, ministre de la Santé, ministre du Travail, pardon, le State Law Office et Air Mauritius à se réunir autour d'une même table pour trouver une solution pour ces 15 familles qui sont privées de salaire depuis février 2022. Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm just speaking out of memory. There is a case lodged from these members, what the honourable member has mentioned. There is a case already being lodged. So whether it is appropriate when there is a case, court case, to have a meeting with them. I believe we should, I will seek the advice of the State Law Office whether we can do a meeting when there is a case lodged. Probably I will forward you what is the information on this.
So the table has been advised that PQB 852, 855, 857, 859, 863, 869, 875, 884, 886, and 890 have been withdrawn. Next question. Would that be the question for Honorable Richard Duval?
Withdrawn.
Withdrawn your question. So who comes next? You're not following?
B854. Micro pas allumé, Micro pas allumé.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that presently the Ministry of Housing and Land Use Planning is working on a master plan for the town of Kyopip, especially in the context of the Metro Express project and the forthcoming urban terminal thereat. Once the master plan is finalized, then a decision will be taken with regard to the renovation of the temporary structures thereat, if required.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, my last question on the Forum of QPIP was on 20th of April 2023, where the Vice Prime Minister replied to us that there was a master plan coming. It's already 2 years back, 24 months.
No. What you want some? You put a question and the minister replies.
Can we know?
Exactly.
Can we know? I'm coming.
How good you are?
Can we know when will the master plan will be finalized? It's already 26 months.
Good.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the master plan is being kind of worked out at the level of the Ministry of Housing and Land Use Planning, so it's a bit difficult for me to answer.
Please, don't comment. What is this? We are not in a supermarket. We are in Parliament. You have another? Okay, good. Next question. Members are not following their turn. Members are one that they should follow their turn.
B856.
Some questions have been withdrawn, but they should know when their turn comes.
B85.
Monsieur le Président, je remercie l'honorable membre pour cette question. Je lui explique que les informations actuellement sont en cours de compilation et seront très très prochainement présentées et déposées à l'Assemblée. Merci.
I have one supplementary question. Can I know from the Minister, I can see from the budgetary estimates that the government proposes to take a loan of 11.3 billion from the World Bank. May I know the purpose for that loan, if we could have some details?
Je n'ai pas nécessairement les informations, je ne voudrais pas dire quelque chose qui ne soit pas complètement vrai ici à l'Assemblée. Je préférais attendre pour vérifier les informations concernant ce prêt avec la Banque mondiale, parce qu'il y a des demandes par rapport à certains projets, en particulier le projet de l'aéroport à Rodrigue. Mais j'aimerais que ce soit sûr que c'est de ce projet qu'on parle.
Can I know from the Honourable Minister whether he is in a position to provide to the House the percentage increase on the interest of the loans? We're talking about the foreign loans, given that the rupee has depreciated since 2015 vis-à-vis the USD and the euro. Do we have the percentage increase on the interest?
Pareil, Monsieur le Président, on est en train de compiler toutes ces données. Il y aura tous les éléments. On va faire par rapport à une comparaison par rapport aux différentes années et voir quelle a été la progression par rapport, en particulier, si c'est le taux d'intérêt. Donc, parce que comme ce sont souvent des floating, donc il y a eu une hausse au niveau du repo et du taux directeur dans de nombreux pays, et ici aussi à Maurice. Donc, l'impact a été une augmentation de la charge de la dette par la suite. Donc, on est en train de travailler dessus pour pouvoir fournir à l'Assemblée des informations précises.
Remember, the table has been advised that PQB 859, 874, 880, 883, 898 have been withdrawn. Now, so many questions withdrawn. Whose turn is it? $864. I'm instructing the chair, the table. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait a minute. I'm instructing the table to give advance notice to members, find a way to give advance notice to members so that they know their turn, exact turn.
Yes.
So,
864.
864.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will reply to this PQ. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, in the 2021-2022 budget speech, it was announced, I quote, to ensure that our youth develop a positive relationship with their surroundings, we will introduce outdoor education programs in the secondary school curriculum for all students in grades 10 to 12, end of quote. The Anse-Larrey Regional Outdoor Education and Recreation Center was handed over to the Mauritius Sports Council in August 2021. The refurbishment of the center was carried out by the in-house team of the Mauritius Sports Council. The center started to receive users as from January 2022. The outdoor education program started with 20 colleges as a first pilot project as from May 2022 up to 21st July 2022. 5 colleges attended the first pilot project, namely Goodlands SSS, Pamplemousses SSS, Loreto College of Port Louis, Quartier Militaire SSS, Royal College of Port Louis. The outdoor education program resumed this year as a second pilot project as from 14 March 2023. 4 colleges have attended the Anse-Larrey Regional Outdoor Education and Recreation Center as at 22nd June 2023 and are as follows: Drupnath Ramphal State College, Islamic Cultural College, Triolet SSS, Terre Rouge SSS. As at date, a total of 1,085 participants have attended the Anse-Larrey Regional Outdoor Education and Recreation Center. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you, Honourable Minister. May I know from you whether these students who go there from grade 10 to 12, whether they stay over there overnight, what we normally term as residential workshops, or is it only during daytime workshops that are carried out?
No, these activities are during daytime and they are within the normal school hours.
One last question, Honourable Minister. We have students who participate in the Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme, as you know. Do these students get this possibility to stay overnight over there during their Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme?
Yes, although this question of Duke of Edinburgh is not closely related, but I will answer to it because I know the subject matter very well. Those students doing residential projects for their Duke of Edinburgh, be it bronze, silver, or gold level, they ask for places to stay overnight, including Anse-Larrey.
Next question.
B868.
The minister is absent, so we move on. Next question would be, so the table has no good system, eh? The table should be careful about that.
I have already withdrawn my
So,
question.
which question comes now?
I have withdrawn.
870. Honorable Tina is not here. Then we have 871. B871. So before answering, the table should make it a duty to find a good means of communicating these questions to the chair. So the question 871.
Yes.
Minister's here.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that a daily monitoring is carried out at my ministry with a view to ensuring that applications for work permit, be it for a new work permit or for renewal of an existing work permit, are processed promptly and diligently. I must admit, however, Mr. Speaker, sir, that due to the various mandatory processes that an application has to go through before it is determined, including due diligence and a security check by the Passport and Immigration Office, the processing time currently takes a minimum of 3 weeks. With a view to further reducing this processing time, a series of measures have been announced in the budget speech 2023. These include for applications or for work permit to be made electronically on the national e-licensing platform, thus ensuring a faster processing. The introduction of an A-list a silent is consent principle of 4 weeks, so as to ensure that applications are determined within a maximum period of 4 weeks, and the removal of ratio of foreign workers to local workers for certain sectors. And with these measures, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm confident that very soon work permit will be delivered in a much shorter time frame.
Is the Minister aware that applications for renewal of permits is beyond 9 months, actually?
No, it is not true.
It is true.
You cannot say applications for renewal is taking 9 months. I've just answered it is being done within the shortest possible delay, within a reasonable time. You need to understand there are processes that need to be followed before an application is determined. That's why it takes I would say reasonable time, not as long as you mentioned.
Are there any plans to introduce online or digital platform to facilitate the renewal process for expatriates and for fair and transparent and aligned with the needs of both expatriate workers and the workers' labor market?
Yes, of course, Mr. Speaker. I've just answered. We have introduced the national e-licensing platform, so all applications are being channeled through this platform and is being determined accordingly.
So we go back to question 868. Honorable Minister, you should be here when question time.
Please, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Artist Incubator Scheme is a measure announced in the Budget Speech 2022-2023 with the main objective of nurturing emerging talents. My ministry is implementing the new scheme on a pilot basis in the music sector, song category. The purpose of the scheme is to empower emerging talents to learn the basics of the industry in terms of music composition, lyrics, production, and marketing. With regards to part A of the question, I'm apprised that the call for application for the Artist Incubator Scheme was launched by my ministry on Friday, the 10th of February, 2023, and the deadline for submission of the applications was on Friday, 3rd of March, 2023. I'm informed that to ease the application process, artists were invited to submit, as per Section 5 of the guidelines, their personal details by WhatsApp. With respect to Part B of the question, I'm informed that an evaluation panel was constituted which considered the following evaluation criteria. Firstly, applicants should be of Mauritian nationality. Secondly, applicants should be either individual artists or groups who are emerging in their respective field and who have never presented an artistic project to the public. Third, talent of the artist. Fourth, interest to proceed with empowerment and training. And lastly, intention to pursue a musical career. In the course of its evaluation, the panel noted that although some of the applicants had participated in the production of artistic works as a group member previously, they were now performing as solo artists. As such, they would still require support under the scheme to pursue a career in the music industry, as they were not established artists. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part C of the question, I wish to inform the House that 27 applications were received under the Artist Incubator Scheme. An evaluation exercise was conducted by a panel, and following that exercise, the panel recommended that 11 applications be retained under the scheme. The list of the selected applicants is being tabled accordingly.
Merci. Le ministre pourrait-il nous donner les détails sur les dépenses encourues à ce stade sous ce scheme?
Expenses as of now under the scheme, if I do have the information, but there hasn't been substantial expenses. May I remind the House that for both financial year 2022-2023 and financial year 23-24, an amount of 5 million has been allocated under my ministry's budget. But as I said, there hasn't been much expenses because it was mainly advertising, calling for participation, and setting up the evaluation panel. So expenses will be incurred as from now with the implementation of the scheme with those 11 applicants.
Peut-il nous dire à travers quels médias les critères avaient été publiés?
The local press, daily press, Facebook of course, on the website of the ministry.
Time over. Motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded. The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favor say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Yes, by ministers.
Statements.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I wish to make a statement to the House further to my participation in the G20 Tourism Ministerial Meeting, which was held on 21st and 22nd June 2023 in Goa, India. The House is aware that India has assumed the presidency of the G20 for the period 1st December 2022 to 30th November 2023. In line with the usual practice, a few countries are invited by the G20 presidency as guest countries in the G20 meetings and summit. Mauritius is privileged to be one among the few countries which India has invited as a guest country to participate in the G20 meetings and summit this year. There are different thematic areas which are discussed throughout the G20 process, and one of them is tourism. The G20 India presidency set up a tourism working group to elaborate, with the assistance of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, a roadmap for tourism as a vehicle for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals based on 5 interconnected priority areas, namely green tourism, digitalization, skills, tourism, micro, small and medium enterprises, and destination management. My ministry was invited to form part of the G20 Tourism Working Group, which met on 4 occasions, and these meetings culminated in the G20 Tourism Ministerial Meeting, which was chaired by Shri Kishan Reddy, Honourable Minister of Tourism, Culture and Development of Northeastern Region of India. The meeting of the Ministers of Tourism of the G20 countries, which I attended, took cognizance of the development of the tourism by the Tourism Working Group of the Goa Roadmap for Tourism and agreed to an outcome document and chair's summary. Moreover, in the course of the meeting, I had the opportunity to address the meeting as to the issues and challenges in global tourism today and conducted several bilateral consultations to promote Mauritian tourism. I shall, with your permission, Mr. Speaker, sir, arrange for the Goa Roadmap and the outcome document to be placed in the library of the National Assembly. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, à l'initiative de la présidence de la République française, Monsieur Emmanuel Macron a réuni la semaine dernière à Paris les représentants d'une centaine de pays ainsi que ceux des organisations et institutions financières internationales, mais également les acteurs de la société civile, du monde académique et du secteur privé. J'ai dans ce contexte eu l'honneur d'être délégué par notre honorable Premier ministre, Pravin Kumar Jugnauth, et ainsi de représenter la République de Maurice au sommet pour un nouveau pacte financier mondial. Lors du sommet, la communauté internationale s'est accordée afin de poser les bases d'un système financier international renouvelé, innovant et inclusif. Le but étant que plus aucun pays n'ait encore à choisir entre la réduction de la pauvreté et la lutte contre le dérèglement climatique. Alliant table ronde et présentations stratégiques de haut niveau, les discussions ont principalement porté sur l'impératif de concrétiser les engagements de solidarité internationale déjà pris en faveur des pays les plus vulnérables. Dans la perspective du sommet du G20 en Inde et de la COP28 aux Émirats arabes unis, au cours desquels des décisions ambitieuses devront être prises, nous avons notamment échangé sur la nécessité de mobiliser des fonds concessionnels plus importants et des investissements croissants d'investissements privés. J'ai eu à ce titre l'opportunité de participer en tant qu'intervenant au panel portant sur la thématique du financement de la transformation numérique, aux côtés de M. Ambrose Fayol, vice-président de la Banque européenne d'investissement, Mme Marie Lamprendo, directrice générale du G20 Global Infrastructure Hub, M. Pascal Lamy, président du Forum de la paix et ancien président de l'OMC. Monsieur le Président, l'un des principaux enjeux du sommet était de construire une feuille de route pour établir ce nouvel ordre financier mondial. La solidarité internationale, au cœur des discussions, a motivé la décision commune de transformer l'architecture financière internationale actuelle afin de la rendre plus efficace, plus équitable et mieux adaptée aux enjeux économiques et sociaux, environnementaux du monde contemporain. Fort d'un objectif partagé, j'ai eu le privilège de porter la voix de Maurice comme petit État insulaire en développement, largement exposé aux risques induits par le changement climatique. Après de longs échanges, nous avons identifié et nous sommes accordés sur la mise en place de 4 grands principes directeurs, à savoir, premièrement, aucun pays ne devrait avoir à choisir entre la lutte contre la pauvreté et la préservation de la planète. Deuxièmement, les pays doivent s'approprier les stratégies en matière de transition et ceux qui sont confrontés à des besoins différents peuvent adopter divers scénarios de transition tout en conjuguant leurs efforts pour atteindre les objectifs de l'accord de Paris. Troisièmement, nous avons besoin d'une impulsion financière et de plus de ressources pour aider les économies vulnérables à sortir leur population de la pauvreté tout en protégeant la planète. Et quatrièmement, le système financier international doit être plus performant et le rôle des capitaux privés doit être accru. Notre aptitude à relever les défis mondiaux dépendra fondamentalement de l'augmentation des flux de capitaux privés pour transformer les économies émergentes et en développement, parvenir à un monde à zéro émission nette et respectueux de l'environnement et réduire les inégalités plus efficacement. Monsieur le Président, il ressort du sommet pour un nouveau pacte financier mondial que les pays vulnérables au changement climatique ont besoin d'une forte impulsion financière pour soutenir les mesures concrètes adoptées. À cet égard, l'objectif visant à allouer 100 milliards de dollars de droits de tirage spéciaux aux pays les plus exposés, en particulier en Afrique, sera réalisé. En parallèle, le partenariat public-privé a été au centre du débat. Dans ce contexte, chaque dollar prêté par les banques multilatérales de développement devrait s'accompagner d'au moins $1 de financement privé. Les banques multilatérales devraient ainsi mobiliser au moins 100 milliards de dollars de financement privé chaque année à destination des économies émergentes et en développement et augmenter leur capacité de prêt pour atteindre au moins 200 milliards de dollars au cours des 10 prochaines années. Cela devrait profiter aux projets d'infrastructure en Afrique. Enfin, la question des procédures en matière de suspension et de traitement de la dette lorsque cela est nécessaire, notamment pour accroître la marge de manœuvre budgétaire des pays surendettés, a été largement traitée. En vertu des impératifs climatiques, adossés à ceux de la consolidation fiscale, ce processus nécessite des instruments spécifiques, notamment des clauses de suspension de la dette en cas de catastrophe naturelle d'origine climatique. Enfin, et au regard des points sur lesquels les parties prenantes se sont accordées, le sommet a également été l'occasion d'emboîter le pas sur les travaux connexes qui se poursuivront en collaboration avec le G20 et les présidences de la COP Climat. Dans cette perspective, de nouvelles pistes de fiscalité internationale seront explorées afin de respecter nos engagements en matière de climat. Ces discussions sont déjà entamées au niveau de mon ministère. Monsieur le Président, par ailleurs, en amont et en marge du sommet, j'ai également eu l'occasion de m'entretenir lors des réunions bilatérales avec certaines de mes homologues ministres des Finances, ainsi que les représentants d'institutions publiques internationales. Merci.
Second reading.
Honorable Mrs. Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me the floor and the opportunity to bring my humble contribution to this important bill, which is undeniably one of the most important that this government and its alliances have presented in this temple of democracy. Mr. Speaker, sir, in introducing this bill, the government is sending a strong signal. And this is what the members on the other side of the House, the opposition bench, doesn't seem to understand or pretend, or, they pretend not to understand the why of this bill. I have been listening carefully to all the debates on both sides of the House. I've been listening carefully to the speech of Honorable Boulel, Honorable Juman as well. But I want to pick up on a comment made by the Honorable Second Member of Beaubassin, Petite Rivière, Honorable Foukyun Basha, who definitely read a beautifully prepared speech by the experts of MMM, we know it very well. Et je cite, she says, faisons le bilan de ces dernières années. And this has triggered, my mind, and I've been researching about the bilan of the Minister of Health. She tried to do the bilan, and we all know, I think history is proof that MMM is a party which has always had a price tag to the life of its citizens. I will elaborate on it later on. But when she mentions about le bilan du ministère de la Santé, let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, sir, le bilan du ministère de la Santé is the number of patients who have been suffering from COVID-19 till date. 42,665 patients suffered from COVID-19. We members in the House have been through this. We've had families, we've had friends who've been through, that moment where we had someone who was suffering from COVID-19. But the number of patients, this is the bilan of the Minister of Health, the number of patients which recovered from the COVID-19, it's 40,929. This is the bilan of the Minister of la Santé. Referring to the World Bank, let me just mention to the honorable member there, the World Bank on the 1st of July 2020 mentioned that Mauritius delivered. It's not, I quote, it's not us partisans, as we say, it's not us members of the government who's saying this, but it is an official document of the World Bank which says this. Mauritius delivered a highly successful health response to the global COVID-19 pandemic through a hard lockdown and subsequent quarantine measures, and as a result has effectively been COVID-free. This is the bilan of the Minister, Honorable Jagat Pal, Honorable Member Foukyun. And, this is very important for us to highlight because people are following the debates and they need to know that the Honorable Minister of Health has taken some bold and urgent measures to save the lives of its people. There have been so many questions put forward by Honorable Juman, Honorable Foukyun Basha, and my answer to those questions is yes. Yes, if we need to buy oxygen. Yes, if we need to get medication. Yes, if we need to get masks or any kind of medication, whether it is a boulanger, whether it is a quincaillerie or even your coiffeur, Honorable Foukyun, then the answer is yes. If it requires to save the life of my family, your family, of all the Mauritian citizens, then the answer is yes to all the questions that have been put forward in this House. And this is what we call an emergency. Nobody was ready, was prepared. Not even the world was prepared for COVID-19. It was the very first time that this happened. And I would say hats off to the Honorable Minister Jagat Pal, who has delivered and has saved so many patients. And we have the figures of statement, Mr. the President. And as I said it in my initial statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, for members of the MMM who are coming here to give us lessons, as I said it earlier, they have a price tag to people's life. Mr. Speaker, sir, this brings me to the year 1983-1984, which is a very crucial year for Mauritius. And I remember my honorable colleague, Bobby Ariram, mentioned this to this House, which is very important because I think this is something which needs to be taken forward and this is something which needs to be highlighted. It was in the year 1983-84 where the country was deprived of rice, and this is where late Sir Anirudh Jagannath said, I quote it, moralité parent vivante. And I would like here to quote an article from El Figaro which appeared in L'Express, which I can definitely table it, where in the article it says clearly what happened at the time. I quote, affaire de moralité parent vivante remonte à 1983-84 quand Taïwan qui prétendait être la vraie Chine décida de faire un don de riz à Maurice. Suivant la reconnaissance de la République populaire de Chine par Sir Susagor Ramgoolam, SSR, en 1972, Maurice avait coupé ses liens avec Taïwan, une île rebelle que la Chine revendique comme son territoire. Further down in the same article, Mr. Speaker, sir, I quote, it says, MMM, qui, comme les travaillistes, estima que Maurice ne reconnaissait que la République de Chine et qu'il était fortement répréhensible et immoral de la part de notre pays d'entretenir des relations avec Taïwan. C'est dans ce contexte que Taïwan ajouta un don de riz, puisque Maurice était lui-même en difficulté au début des années 80. Ce don de riz aida le pays. This should be highlighted. And this is when, of course, the rice, just imagine at that point in time, we were in a difficult situation. There was no rice. What did we do? C'était bien sûr put the population first. C'était bien sûr put our people first. This is the DNA of the MSM party, Mr. Speaker, sir. Ce riz, Monsieur le Président, a aidé notre population. Anyways, it only comes to confirm that we on this side of the House, nous sommes à l'écoute de la population. And the Prime Minister, as well as his Minister of Health, did what they deemed correct and right to save the life of its people, even if it was going out of their way to saving the life of the former Prime Minister. Instead of welcoming, Mr. Speaker, so instead of welcoming this bill and showing gratitude, what did we hear in this August Assembly? Quel est le bilan of this minister? I would rather advise the Honourable Second Member of Bobassa Petite Rivière to rather do a bilan of her party, who has a price tag to life of people, and also a bilan of being in the opposition. So we have no lessons to take from you, Honourable Member. Coming back to my speech, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to congratulate the Honourable Minister for presenting such a bold bill to this House, and I would keep the pandemic as the backdrop of my speech. I shall continue my speech relating to the bill being presented right now. The urgent and unknown health concerns, lockdown measures and closures of our borders during the COVID-19 crisis have contributed in creating a disruption in supply and distribution chains of goods, works and services in the public sector needs. During the pandemic, there was the urgent need around the world to protect its population, to ensure food security, to save lives, among others. The focus during the pandemic was mainly accessing the urgent demand for healthcare. That is, we had the urgent need, we had the urgent requirement of having ventilators, oxygen, face masks, protective gloves, medicines, intensive care material, COVID-19 tests, among others. As a consequence of that huge and urgent demand, the public buyer found itself with only one supplier, or no supplier at all, to be able to cater for the quantity. This has been the case not only in Mauritius, but in several countries across the world. And we've had to use emergency procurement method to save many lives, among others. There has been a country which we often, compare ourselves with international countries. And here I would like to refer to the United Kingdom, which in March 2020 adopted a policy note to provide guidance on the procurement procedures that can be used to purchase goods, services, and works for emergency. I quote, the policy says it clearly that the direct awards can be used should be the following conditions all be met. There are genuine reasons for extreme urgency, the events that have led to a need for extreme urgency. It is possible to comply with usual timeless scales. also assess whether these conditions are still met, keep a written justification for the need of the direct award as well. And today we are here debating, Mr. Speaker, sir, about a bill which comes to correct all the anomalies. For years now, the audit report has constantly, as we say, tiré la sonnette d'alarme with regards to the electronic inventory management system at the ministry when it comes to managing the stocks. And in its February report 2023, on page 305, the summary findings, I quote, it says decisions were made based on inaccurate stock balances. And on page 309, recommendations state that the ministry should ensure that correct procedures are followed regarding discrepancies recorded after a physical inventory exercise, and timely actions are taken for the shortcoming noted. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to a study, medicines and medical products typically account for like 20 to 30% of the global health spending. World Health Organization 2010 mentions it clearly, and possibly more in low and middle income countries as well. Therefore, ensuring that drugs and medical products are procured in a cost-efficient way could save a lot of money for ministries. And the study also mentions that poorly designed procurement system can increase the cost of delivering health services or reduce the availability of appropriate medical products. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Medical Procurement Authority Bill in its explanatory memorandum highlights the role of the authority, and it has the duty and the responsibility to ensure that the procurement of medical supplies, the warehousing of same, the supply and distribution of same as well. And the most important one is ensuring that the stock level of medical supplies in the public health institutions are maintained and are available at all times. This, Mr. Speaker, sir, has been one of the recommendations of the audit report, which members of the opposition will certainly not say. They will only bring forward what has been highlighted, what the audit report has highlighted, but they will not come forward with the recommendations which is being implemented through this bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, another important element of the bill which needs the attention of one and all is part 3, that is the procurement of medical supplies. Subpart A, procurement policies and planning, section 16, procurement planning, section A. The authority shall abstain from processing unplanned tenders. It is written noir sur blanc that the authority shall abstain from processing any unplanned tenders. That is, we are coming to correct what has been done previously. This section, Mr. Speaker, sir, makes it clear that the authority has the power and has the authority as well to stop anything which they feel is not correct according to this bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, the bill is very explicit, detailing every single detail of a medical procurement. If you go through it, it's like 59 pages with all the details from the procurement authority, to the administration and management authority, to also the procurement policies and planning, the methods, the stages as well. Some have already been canvassed in this House, so I will abstain from going back again to that. I would once again say it, Mr. Speaker, sir, that one should not forget that COVID-19 has taught us lessons and showed us the loopholes in our system. And this bill will now ensure the overall efficiency of our system. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to conclude now. For the sake of transparency, this bill comes as an opportune time as we as a government, we recognize all the challenges and the pressures faced during the COVID-19. By introducing this robust bill, we are sending a strong signal, that of transparency. I would like to congratulate the Honorable Prime Minister, the driving force of this government, and the Minister of Health for presenting this bill, but most importantly, all the frontliners. This is an opportunity for us members to once again congratulate all the frontliners who during the pandemic sacrificed their family and lives to save those of others. I thank you for your attention, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I thought you would break for tea time.
You prefer?
Yes? I can start.
We have 13 minutes left, so You have 20
Let
minutes.
us start. Because I want to move from 83 to 2023. Yes, I know this. Merci, Monsieur le Président. D'emblée, je souhaiterais dire que je ne vois pas l'utilité de la création du Central Medical Procurement Authority Bill. Je pense que la solution aurait été tout simplement un amendement de l'acte principal, c'est-à-dire le principe des Procurement Act, and with a specific section allocated to the purchase of medical supplies because of their specificity, which the Minister has mentioned in his second reading of the bill. Let us see what he said. He says that le ministre parle de cumbersome system. Il parle de specific and unique items, specialized needs, delays, supply defaults, poor planning, massive overtime, lowest bidder syndrome, supplier default, staggered supply problems. Et il se réfère bien sûr au rapport de l'audit de 2005-2006. Mais Monsieur le Président, voyons les vrais problèmes. Les vrais problèmes du système sont, premièrement, le problème de compétence et de professionnalisme. C'est un système complètement dépassé. Effectivement, nous avons eu des scandales qui ont fait frémir l'épisode je prends l'épisode de Molnupiravir. Je vais dire quelques mots sur l'épisode des ventilators parce qu'il y a quelques détails que je peux apporter. Nous avons donc, il y a eu la saga des ventilators avec Pack and Blisters. Nous avons eu les acquisitions douteuses avec des pertes de millions pendant le Covid. Et nous avons eu les abus de l'emergency procurement pendant la pandémie. Différents collègues de ce côté de la Chambre ont énuméré avec insistance les différents scandales qui ont choqué le pays. On a même dit qu'au nom d'une noble mission, sauver des vies, nombreux autour du pouvoir ont pensé que c'était une belle occasion de faire du business. Et là, j'ai été témoin personnellement d'un cas, et je vais le dire. J'avais mis en place une plateforme 24/7 pour le rapatriement, quand j'étais ministre des Affaires étrangères, pour le rapatriement des Mauriciens les 10 000 Mauriciens qui étaient un peu partout dans le monde. Et il y a quelqu'un qui est venu me voir pour me dire qu'il y avait un avion qui quittait la Chine, rempli de PPI, et qui allait sur le Zimbabwe, et qui pouvait s'arrêter à Maurice, il m'a dit, combien de PPI on a besoin à Maurice? Il m'a fait la proposition. Alors moi, ce que j'ai fait, je lui ai demandé de m'écrire une demande officielle, ce qu'il a fait, et j'ai présenté cette demande officielle à mon comité. Et là, on a dit, on ne pouvait pas acheter du PPI comme ça. Et j'ai référé ce cas au comité national présidé par le Premier ministre. Ce que je voulais dire par là, c'est que même dans les situations d'emergency, la notion de accountability reste de mise. Nous sommes en train de dépenser des millions des fonds publics. Nous n'avons pas droit à l'erreur, nous n'avons pas le droit au gaspillage. On ne peut pas acheter le Molnupiravir à 9 roupies aujourd'hui et 79 roupies demain. Comment justifier ça? Comment pouvons-nous justifier ça on parlait les membres de nos familles, aux citoyens. Comment on peut expliquer ça? Et dans le cas qui a été en cours, il y a eu un commentaire où on a expliqué, dans le commentaire du jugement, que le inquiring officer a tout fait pour que l'enquête s'arrête au niveau du purchasing officer et qu'on n'arrive pas à un stade plus haut, c'est-à-dire le chef de cabinet, plus haut, c'est-à-dire la SCI, plus haut, c'est-à-dire le ministre. But the minister is accountable for what happens in his ministry. If we're spending 79 million, wasting the money for 1 million tablets, he should be aware. How can he say that he's not aware? Maintenant, je prends le cas des ventilators. Mais avant ça, je voudrais dire qu'on a parlé de quincailleries qui ont livré des masques et d'autres fournisseurs qui n'avaient rien à voir avec ce que j'appelle le core business de medical supplies et fourni des PPI ou du matériel soignant. Alors maintenant, je vais expliquer la saga des ventilators. parce que je l'ai vécu, parce que moi, j'avais le rôle d'acheminement de ces medical supplies pendant la pandémie, et j'ai fait l'acheminement de 200 tonnes de matériel à vol d'avion. Le ministère a organisé ça. Pour les ventilateurs, on m'a demandé à un moment donné, dans le comité national présidé par le Premier ministre, de les aéroporter de Guangzhou dans un premier temps. Quelque temps plus tard, on m'a dit que c'était à Hong Kong qu'on allait avoir les ventilateurs. Par la suite, on m'a dit que devait passer à Beijing. Et le Premier ministre nous a informé alors, au comité national, quand on était à Beijing, que les ventilateurs étaient défectueux. Prochain épisode, et par la suite, le nom de Pack and Blisters est revenu sur le tapis dans le comité national, et on nous a informé que les ventilateurs viendraient de l'Espagne. Finalement, nous savons ce qui s'est passé, il y a eu des intermédiaires, et on a été dans l'impossibilité de réclamer des dommages aux fournisseurs pour des ventilateurs qui ont été, en fin de compte, fabriqués en Turquie. Et il me semble, aujourd'hui, que ça a été fourni par Pack and Blisters, et on attend toujours les résultats de l'enquête de l'ICAC. Les ventilateurs ont coûté des centaines de millions. Alors, ma question est très simple. Est-ce que le board pourra éviter des problèmes de ce genre? Le problème n'est pas au niveau du board. Le problème, il est au niveau de la gestion dans le ministère. C'est un problème d'administration, de management. Et vous êtes en train de trouver une solution politique. Attaquons-nous au vrai problème du système actuel avec un budget de plus de 3 milliards de roupies et un personnel de 100 officiers. C'est le ministre lui-même qui l'a dit. Il y a une mauvaise quantification des besoins. Il y a une absence de professionnalisme à plusieurs niveaux. Il y a un système dénué de transparence et d'accountability. Il y a un inventaire qui est à peu près approximatif et se posent deux problèmes. The effectiveness of the system and the efficiency of the system. Avec les conséquences, parfois il y a des achats de 18 mois pour les besoins d'un an. Il y a des procédures qui durent pendant 7 mois pour le procurement. Les bid documents avec des chiffres inexacts et pas bien préparés. On m'a dit au fond, ce sont les fournisseurs qui ont une meilleure maîtrise des besoins du ministère. Ils savent mieux quand il y aura la pénurie que le ministère lui-même. Autre défi, le contrôle et l'examen des stocks. L'honorable Jouman a parlé de la température. Ça veut dire dans quelles conditions on est en train de stocker les médicaments. Mais ces problèmes et les autres éléments évoqués par le ministre peuvent peut-être être résolus par la mise en place de la nouvelle autorité. Je suis très sceptique à cet effet, Monsieur le Président. Il faut régler les problèmes au sein du ministère avant tout. Il faut digitaliser la chaîne. Deuxièmement, il faut revoir le decision-making process. Pouvons-nous faire un meilleur profiling de la demande? Et nous avons l'absence de ce qu'on appelle le one person, one file. Nous savons très bien que quelqu'un vient au dispensaire le matin, il va à l'hôpital après. Il a des médicaments le matin, il a d'autres médicaments le soir. En l'absence de one person, one file, un patient se retrouve souvent avec plusieurs dossiers dans plusieurs établissements, avec plusieurs ordonnances. Et il n'y a pas de traçabilité avec ces plusieurs dossiers, donc on ne peut pas quantifier les besoins. L'OMS a mis en place une nomenclature de près de 700 items et de 600 médicaments les plus demandés. C'est 80% de la demande pour une grande majorité et 20% de la demande pour les cas spécifiques, spécialisés. Dans une clinique privée, la gestion de ces items existe déjà et fonctionne bel et bien. Il suffit de les centraliser au ministère. On peut le faire au niveau de chaque hôpital. Monsieur le Président, il y a d'autres problèmes. Le problème de testing en laboratoire. On les envoie en Afrique du Sud sur la qualité. C'est le board qui va certifier la qualité des médicaments. Monsieur le Président, la qualité des médicaments, l'exemple des vaccins pendant l'épidémie du Covid, en est bel et bien l'exemple. Alors, finalement, Monsieur le Président, l'autorité sera un foreign body to the minister, une autorité parallèle, et je me demande comment elle va travailler avec le Public Procurement Board. Et avec ce régime, on nous a dit que l'acquisition du ministère sont des acquisitions uniques. C'est pour ça qu'il faut le board. Ben, à ce moment-là, ce sera le seul ministère tombant sous ce régime concernant le procurement. C'est une décision pour moi politique, pour un problème avant tout de gestion et de planification. Aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Président, avec la technologie, l'informatique, l'intelligence artificielle, on peut tout digitaliser, contrôler et gérer comme il faut. Une bonne gestion est donc possible. Et comme je l'ai dit, pour moi, il aurait suffi d'amender le Public Procurement Act et ajouter quelques clauses spécifiques pour l'acquisition de medical supplies spécifiques. Maintenant, permettez-moi, Monsieur le Président, de voir le projet de loi. For me, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, a statutory body, this statutory body will act as a broker for the ministry and not solve any of the problems of today. Let us forget 1983. For example, la pénurie, le retard dans la préparation des documents, l'overtime massif. Alors maintenant, laissez-moi voir la question de nomination. Alors, la nomination, c'est, on va nommer, alors, the authority shall be administered by a chairperson. The chairperson will have wide experience in procurement, administration, financial, legal, engineering, or medical, in the medical field. Ben, je me demande si le Premier ministre a l'oiseau rare. Et quand je vois le pattern de nomination du MSM, on sait tout de suite qu'est-ce qui va se passer. We know that it is not going to be the right person in the right place. There are so many cases where this is not being done. Deuxième chose, the president, alors là je parle de la section of the board, 10, subsection 6. The President shall, on the advice of the Prime Minister and following a report from the Minister, at any time terminate the appointment of a member. On peut le faire tout de suite, à n'importe quel moment. Quand? Whose performance appraisal is not satisfactory. May I ask the Honourable Minister who is going to do the performance appraisal of the members? So that we know that there is security of tenure. How can somebody who is a member of the board act independently, diligently, with competence and expertise, when he has this l'épée de Damoclès over his head? So he can be sacked at any time when his performance appraisal is not satisfactory. And I would like to know who is the person who is going to make the appraisal as regards to the performance of the person, of the member or the president. Now let us come to the director. The board shall designate, let us come to the director. Ah ben, on a donné quand même des spécifications concernant le président. C'est-à-dire, he should have a wide experience in procurement, in administrative, financial, legal, engineering, or financial field. But what about the director? There is no criteria. There is no criteria about who is going to be the director of a board which is going to handle more than 3 billion rupees to buy medical supplies. And we are in 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir. So the director shall be appointed by the Prime Minister, and on such terms and conditions, the Prime Minister may determine. Mais qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Pouvons-nous donner une telle responsabilité, un tel budget à quelqu'un, sans même qu'il y ait des critères pour savoir quel est le profil? Who is this rare bird? Qui est cet oiseau rare? Avant que le MSM ait quelqu'un. Alors, je me pose énormément de questions. Pourquoi on a amené ce bill? Quel est le problème n'est pas... Le board ne va pas résoudre les problèmes. Les problèmes sont internes au ministère et la façon de faire aujourd'hui. Il faut aujourd'hui, il faut un système moderne et le Public Procurement Act aurait pu être amendé à cet effet. Je continue, Monsieur le Président. Alors, maintenant, il y a une section. Alors, je parle de la section 3, Applicability of the Public Procurement Act. Section 3, subsection 3. In the event of any inconsistency between the Act and the Public Procurement Act with regard to the procurement of medical supplies, this Act shall prevail. But which one is the model legislation? Which one is the model law? Is it the Public Procurement Act or is it this one? That is, what we were being said is that this legislation will supersede the Public Procurement Act, which is the model law for the procurement of the country, of the nation. This legislation is going to supersede the other one. I would like the State Law Office to enlighten us on this. How come? If we consider the Public Procurement Act as the mother law, the main law as regards to procurement. So exceptionally for the Ministry of Health, we are creating a board and a law which will supersede the law, the national law of procurement. How can you explain this? So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I mentioned this. I would like to say now a few things before ending. Le ministre, pour moi, le long de son discours, a voulu justifier la création d'une nouvelle autorité. He was all the time on the defensive, all the time explaining, all the time justifying that we should need a new authority and a new board. Mais moi, je me pose la question, est-ce que la nouvelle autorité va régler, comme par magie, tous les problèmes évoqués, éviter les scandales qu'on a connus? Je ne le crois pas, Monsieur le Président. Et je voudrais, en terminant, voir l'explanatory memorandum of the bill qui disent qu'en section 3, en section 2D, the authority will, in the discharge of its functions, responsible for ensuring that the stock level, and then yes, in section 3. In addition, the bill makes provisions with regard to reforms in the medical and e-health system of the Ministry of Health, mais on ne voit jamais un mot là-dessus dans le projet de loi. How come? How are we going to do this? Who is going to do, what are the reforms that in the medical and e-health system of the ministry that we are going to have? There is not one single reference to this in the whole bill, Mr. Speaker. So I think, personally, d'emblée, j'ai dit, il n'y a pas lieu de créer une autorité. Il faut digitaliser, il faut régler le problème à l'intérieur du ministère pour qu'il n'y ait pas des scandales, pour qu'il n'y ait pas les gaspillages qu'on a et qu'on puisse gérer les stocks comme il faut. Et on aurait pu tout simplement amender le Public Procurement Act pour ajouter une section spécifique pour l'acquisition de medical supplies, parce que le ministre dit que c'est unique et que à ce moment-là, il aurait suffi que dans d'autres ministères aussi, il y ait des acquisitions qui soient uniques et on devrait créer une autorité. Donc pour moi, d'emblée, comme j'ai dit, il fallait faire autrement. C'est une décision politique et je me demande comment on va trouver le président on va voir qui sera le président du board et on va voir qui sera le directeur de ce fameux board. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
So this is the break for 30 minutes.